All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. How's everybody doing out there today? Hope everybody's having a good Friday. If you're not watching Black Widow right now at the theaters and you've decided to stay home, or you've already watched it and came home and need some entertainment, well, I've got a little entertainment for you today, because today we're talking to Trish Forstner, the co-creator of what I consider to be the book of the year. Yeah, unless I don't know how anybody could make a book this late in the year that would top this book. But this is the co-creator of Stray Dogs, the book from Image Comics by her and Tony Fleece, that has just wowed me and people from all over the country. This book is selling out everywhere. You can't get your hands on any of the printings unless you've gotten to them early. Otherwise, you're going to have to go to eBay. You're gonna have to start going to the other websites and paying a decent amount of money. I'm so happy because I did finally I have not been able to get my hands on any of the other printings, but when I saw the Thing cover,
that's my favorite one out of that quartet.
Yep, I was like, that's one of my favorite movies of all time, and so this was just
good. Perfect. I don't know what it was. Like when we were drawing them, we had to come up with the covers pretty quick. So we're like, which ones haven't we done yet? Let's just go, because, I don't know if you've seen all of the covers, but we like to think of them as sets. So like the first set was like the A's and the B's, and the second prints were all red. The third prints were homages. So third print and beyond is all homage. So we try to do something like that to keep it spicy. And yeah, when we were doing that run, the Midsummer one, beautiful. I mean, it was hard to pick one. And I'm biased too, because the Malamute character, Roxy, is based on my dog. So I'm like, the Evil Dead one is really good. But then I was like, the Thing, though. The Thing. Freaking awesome. So we did I can't pick it's like trying to pick your favorite kid. You can't.
Is this Rusty?
Yeah, it's Rusty.
Okay,
but you picked it out because, I don't think anybody's been able to determine which dog that is, and I'm like, no, I made it specifically Rusty. It's Rusty.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like Kurt Russell.
Yeah,
it has that kind of pattern.
Well, he hasn't had a lot of covers, cover FaceTime. I've noticed, we tend to lean toward our favorites, So in the issue. In the last run reprints that just got announced, we're trying to expand a little bit, use some more dogs that weren't used as much. But the homages for the last run are chef's kiss, man. It's going to be beautiful. Can't wait for everybody to see all of them.
The Psycho one was really cool.
Oh, that one was really nice. I mean, we tried to get all the spectrum of the horror variants. So you've got your classics, got ones from when we were younger, got ones from, some Italian horror films, like the Demons one. We're trying to pick all things cool. We do have some variants for trade paperback coming, and down the pike when trade paperback comes in September. And there's some special announcements coming for some of that stuff. I can't really go too deep, but just stay tuned. Those are going to be cool. And then we're about Dog Days. We've got some anthology themed covers coming too. It's going to be.
But that's so cool that you have information that you just can't, it's like you can't go into. It's like me at my humdrum job where I'm just like, I don't ever have information like that. I have to, if something comes down the pipe to me, I have to tell somebody about it. It's actually required to me. I don't have any thing where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't tell you when the next load of whatever comes in. It's cool to be able to have that kind of knowledge.
To have a little spicy secret that you can't tell anybody, but you still kind of secretly tell everybody.
Yeah, and then wait, and then get to see everybody's reaction when it's released, and this is getting such a positive reception. Like I had said in my review, that this reminds me of the reception that Livio Ramondelli's Kill Lot got. just a couple of years ago, not even a full 2 years ago, where that book came out of nowhere and blew everybody away with its original take on just some robots. It
Mm-hmm.
took kind of a simple concept, and with the art and the writing, he was able to do something kind of similar to this, where it's,
Tony.
it just seems kind of like, oh, it's some dogs, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's what you do with that.
Yeah, the concept was it's simple and elegant, but then when you think about it, like if you stop to think about the situation that these dogs are in, it gets really messed up. So, you're just thinking about it, and it gets darker and darker and darker, and you just holding your breath issue to issue. That's why when the trade paperback comes out, people are going to be very happy. They can just zoom through it and figure out what happens. But the part of the fun of all of it was watching people react issue to issue and see their reaction and go, God, I have to wait another month. I have to wait a month to see what happens to these dogs. Oh my God, and that was like the most fun. There's a fellow or I guess podcasters, Bag and Board. I had the most fun with them. They were really like bagging on us hard. But we built a nice little community out of this book too, I think. So the interaction with everybody has been really cool. I haven't had that ever in my art career. And this is my first like independent project. So for it to blow up like this, I hear that's unheard of, and then to have people react that way, it just blows my mind every single time. Every day someone says something to me that just makes my day, makes me, and I have a humdrum day job too. So, it brings me out of that doldrum back into I can keep going because these people still like me. Don't ever stop not liking me, please. Like people, like please like me.
No, I absolutely understand where you're coming from. Like if you do what you do during the day and what you do for what you love and what your passion is, and it's, I go to my job and I crank out my 40 hours a week, and I come home and I when I make something that hits somebody and I get to hear about it, like
Well,
whatever
like
I'm
I was
making a
saying,
video.
like your review was really nice, and I needed to like let you know that because how would you know that even I don't know if you expected me to see it, but I watch everything. I say and I read everything that people send me. I I do. I can't always handle it. Like I can't always respond appropriately. I say appropriately like I just yell out swear words at people, but no. Like I can't always respond timely, I guess, but I do always respond. And it's like it just blows me away how much, how good. And it's because Tony had this simple concept. Like when we met, it was like, here's this concept. Let me pitch you the issue. So he pitches me the whole issue. And after I pick my jaw up off the floor, I'm like, how do I get involved? How do you want me to do this? Are you sure you want me? I'm nobody. He'd already been doing comics for ever. And here I am, like no one. I'm like, I'm just going to hold you back. And it turns out, we needed each other. So, my anonymity, I was only in comics for maybe 2 years before this came out. So I was doing My Little Pony at the time, and so was he. That's how we met. Who says My Little Pony can't, help people? It does. Friendship
No,
truly is magic, yada yada.
no, I never read My Little Pony, but I know when I was a kid, I watched everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I watched the cartoon, like the old version of it. I had sisters, so I was sitting there watching Rainbow Bright and Strawberry Shortcake and My Little Pony right next to them. So I mean, but I think that that's really cool. I didn't know about the My Little Pony background until after I started reading.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that art style, the way that that's drawn, the way that this is drawn comparatively, I think it works so well. That's why like the review was the way it was, because when I'm done reading it, it didn't feel like I had to wait a month to get to the next issue, because I was talking about it constantly and I was filling up my time just like thinking about it, that all of a sudden the next issue was here. And so I couldn't believe how fast, for me anyway, that this book is now over. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like,
Yeah,
I
we've
was
got
thinking, like, how are they going to pull this off in 5 issues? That was my biggest thing. I was like, how are they going to do it? How are they going to satisfy this story, like complete this story in one more issue? And I just was so blown away by how successfully it was completed. That was why the review had such an exuberance to it and everything, because not very often, because I review TV shows episodically and movies and games and other things. And so often I have, I'll be reviewing something that's kind of like, how do I talk about this? This is, and it's so nice to be able to be excited to not have like nothing bad to say about something, nothing to critique. Now, I mean, everybody's their own worst critic.
Yeah, I mean, shoot.
But this to me was basically flawless. And I read a lot of books, a lot of books.
When we were working on the first issue, I mean, like, your first issue is everybody's introduction. You have to get away clean. If you do not make that introduction right, people aren't going to follow you. But again, I'm an unknown. I had no idea. I had no idea what numbers to expect, what kind of reception to expect, nothing to gauge it against. So I only had My Little Pony to gauge it against, and I never knew anything about that side of the industry. That was all like commission work. So for this, we know numbers. We get numbers. So we get the first run numbers, and we're like blown away because it was more than what we expected. And then, when we get the second numbers, I was really disappointed, and I was like, does it always do this? Do they drop off? Like, does the series drop off? Like, and then they told me, yeah, it does. That's normal. Like, this is normal, but still good. And I was like, oh, okay. I had no way to gauge this for anything. But then after that, it kept going like up, up, up. And now with these reprints, you can't keep them. You got to order them from your shops. Everybody order them from your shops. But somebody told me that Wednesday, when the books came out, they saw someone going for them, and another person shoved them out of the way to get to the books. There's like some Black Friday nonsense happening over these books. And I'm like, that's rude. First of all,
man.
These books, like, no book is worth fighting somebody for. But, like, my gosh, let's just keep it civil. There's enough books.
I when I went there today to pick up my books and got this one, and again, I want to just keep showing it off because I love it. But I went in there and I'm like, maybe there's something hidden somewhere in the like maybe since I was the first one through the door today at the comic shop. I was there at noon, ready to go. And I just kind of casually, even though there's no one else in the store, I'm like almost creeping to the back to like see if there's any copies of Stray Dogs at all, any prints at all, and there was just nothing. Just this big old empty spot. And I'm like, I didn't actually expect there to be any, but I was like, maybe this is my lucky day, and it wasn't. But that was lucky enough, and I hope to be able to get my hands on. I'll get the trade. I'll get whatever. But I want to talk about just briefly, because I know that you've got the picture of Mrs. Brisby back there, and that you went to the Don Bluth school. And I would really love to hear about that, because I grew up with Don Bluth cartoons. I think a lot of people did, whether they were passed on generation. I think there's a very good movies to pass on generationally. I was like, Secret of Nim was the movie that I watched when I was a kid that was like, this is like no other kids thing I've ever seen in my life.
It blew my mind when I was a kid.
And so
I had
with
it on
that,
VHS tape. I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
Go ahead.
But yeah, I had it on like a VHS cassette tape that I just played to death. I know my mom was probably tired of that movie when I was a kid. But I was obsessed mostly with how cool the art style was. Like Disney wasn't doing that sort of thing at the time. They weren't showing like a gnarled hand with like warts on it. They weren't showing an owl whose head was twisted over upside down and then having his eyes glow that crazy gold color. I mean, my God, between Nicodemus and the Great Owl, that was some great character work right there. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're taking me back because you're right. Disney wasn't especially in the 80s,
and the problem was they tried.
Yeah, Black Cauldron.
The Black Cauldron. And that movie was really, I guess maybe it was a little underrated, but it wasn't a great movie. Mm-hmm. But it was really darker than they were doing, and people were not ready for that.
No.
They were not ready for Disney to go full, like, skeleton army and, just really just dark and goblins everywhere. They weren't ready for that.
I don't think they're
was
still
like
ready
the cutest thing in that movie. No, they are not. I think Disney's too cool for school. They're too cool for that.
Yeah, people expect a certain thing from the brand, and they expect the stuff like Simba's dad. Some parent has to die in every single one of them, but that's about it.
That's the ensuing incident.
The mom or the dad usually dies. Somebody's an orphan, but that's about as far as a chance that they ever really take. Like there's a couple of scenes, like the Lion King with the hyenas, gets a little scary and a little dark for like little kids, but like most of the time, no. And Black Cauldron at least they tried, and they failed, but they tried. But Don Bluth stuff, even like American Tail, has got some like, especially in the beginning of it, it's got some really dark stuff. My grandfather wore out the American Tail to the point where I was like, just stop with American. I had to tell him to stop, and I loved American Tail.
And the original Land Before Time, Five Goes West was like my Five Goes West was my American Tail. Like I saw the first one, but I liked the second one better. I like Five Goes West the best.
I like that one because of Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, who doesn't? That movie, and of course, Dom DeLuise as the cat that had to act like a dog, cracked me up.
And then you got All Dogs Go to Heaven.
All Dogs Go to Heaven,
which was really like that's a very that's got some really dark stuff in it too. The animation style, like you're right, was like so unique, and that's why I thought it was really interesting that you went to that school, because like the only animation schools that I think of are art schools that I think of with a famous name is like the Kubert School, for comic books, and I didn't even know that there was a Don Bluth school.
It wasn't like, it's not necessarily, it wasn't a school at the time. He has it's a class right now that you can buy. It takes place, I think, online, and then there's like a portion that you do at his studio in Arizona. But for when it was first starting, it was all online. So we were doing like tests and character design stuff, and like I never could get my head around actually animating, but we did some drills, and I did a couple of walk cycles, which I thought was like an achievement. I've always wanted to animate. And, we did it the traditional way, paper with the pegboard, pencils, light board, everything, all of it. And we were supposed to be putting together a movie, but then the whole thing kind of stopped for a while. But yeah, he said nice things about my character design and stuff, so I could die happy. And, that was all the validation I really needed. Like Don Bluth, I remember the character and everything. We had like a little drill. We had to draw a rhinoceros, sailor. Yeah, it was just like two random words. So I drew like this giant rhinoceros guy with a sailor outfit on, and he had like a boat anchor tattoo, and he looked pretty mean. And that was, that he said nice things about it. So I was like, that's it. I'm done.
That's like Walt Disney, telling you something, like just like walking up and saying, "Yeah, that's good." Like holy moly.
Yeah, like my little scratching, you liked it? Oh my God. Yeah, no, it was amazing, and that was really good. I learned a lot from him. Like, he had a book series, and then he had a DVD series. We kind of like used those things as tutorials to help us more. But I was already a fan, and I already had studied his work so much that I already knew a lot of it. And I mean, as you can see, Mrs. Brisby behind me, I have a couple of All Dogs Go to Heaven animation cells in various places. Don Bluth's stuff was the main inspiration for this book. And I think it's because it's darker, it's grittier, it's like, but it still was very clean and nostalgic and warm. You still, it had lots of extremes. You felt things. I mean, All Dogs Go to Heaven, that poor dog gets murdered twice. So, like on screen, murdered. And not bloody, but, it's still pretty shocking to see when you're a kid. You see a dog sitting on a pier and a car rolls down, hits him. He goes flying through the air and then he's dead. Like, that's pretty dark for a kid to see. And the same thing with, like, Secret of NIMH. It's like, oh, aren't these talking rats nice? No, they're plotting murder. That's fine. It's all medieval style down there in the catacombs of NIMH.
Yeah, my history of drawing is I used to draw a lot. I used to write a lot too. But when I was like in fourth grade, me and this guy named Jason, we used to do mashups of famous people to like ordinary objects. And we weren't good or anything, but like I remember that we used to be able to do a lot more with our imaginations and stuff. And it was something that I kind of lost. And I know that you had said that you're pretty much able to just see something in your head and you do it, but not always. And I was so happy I hate to say it like that. I'm so happy that it doesn't always work, because that was my biggest problem. Was I can see so many amazing things in my head, and I got really frustrated because I just couldn't get it on the paper.
Yeah, when you see something, like, I've got an idea for a cover or for something, and I see it very vividly in my head how I want it to look, and then I'll sit for like hours sometimes, and it won't come out, and I'm like, slam everything closed and just walk away, you just take a breath, and then come back to it the next day fresh, and then sometimes it'll happen. Sometimes inspiration will hit you, and you'll just be able to produce. Like, I mean, it's easy to burn out. Like, if you really try and try and try and try, you can burn out real easy. I see that a lot. I mean, I work a day job and then I log out and then I, walk the dog and take care of stuff, and then I log back in to draw. And I usually will stay up till about 2 a.m. And then I go to bed and wake up at 6:30 and go back to work. It's just, that's what you got to do for something you love, but it's easy to burn out that way. I tell you. I'm not doing it now, only because, I'm inspired. This stray dogs thing, it's brought me life, brought me new life, because I was going through some rough stuff at the end. Like, I got sick. I had to have surgery. It was issue 5 was almost delayed. We drug that thing kicking and screaming across the finish line. Wow. So, yeah, I'm good now though. Yay.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you're healthy.
Yeah.
There's a bit of information nobody knew.
New stuff.
I want to mention really quickly in the chat, Rena Dietrich saying, this is who I was talking about. Thanks for my first comic purchase in decades. Great comic. Congratulations. And Desiree Garcia, El Paso native. Don Bluth is amazing.
He is so good.
And that she loves horror, but she cannot draw scary things.
I'm not a big, it'll surprise you too, that I'm not a big horror fan. Like, it's as a genre, I know the big ones, I know your Freddy Kruegers, your Jasons, I know those, but I don't get into like the, super scary stuff. Like, Saw, I can't. I turn that stuff off.
That's something else. I don't even consider that horror.
No, it's like torture porn or whatever. Yeah. I don't know.
Like, I'm not a big horror fan either. What I like is good stories. So if your horror story is actually good and not just whatever, it can be like, I think Freddy Krueger is imaginative. I think that the idea of, having people die in their dreams and what their dreams are, that's creative. but it's to not, and for a little while it's okay, and then it just becomes a joke after a while,
Yeah, and
just
then they
like
just
Jason and Michael Myers and everything else, where it's not really scary to me. Like I like movies that scare me are a little less show and a little less show and a little more
tell
or no,
a little more
yeah,
tell.
I think I'm saying it right. Like tell don't show.
Yeah.
And like movies like It Follows, where
Oh yeah,
it's
that
just
movie was freaking creepy. I mean,
yeah,
like I like suspense stuff, not gory. So like
yeah.
when I was a kid, what turned me off, I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7. I don't know. When did the first Nightmare on Elm Street come out? That's when I was traumatized
That's
enough
probably
not
like
to ever.
83.
Yeah. Here I am playing with my little Alvin and the Chipmunks toy or whatever. I'm sitting in front of the TV and my mom puts this thing on and then she walks away and I'm watching, there's a horrible movie. It was awful. I was traumatized as a child by Freddy Krueger. Um,
Oh
so
yeah,
they like made me swear off a horror movie as a genre for a long time. But what I like about Stray Dogs is how it kind of bends that genre around. Like it's more like suspense thriller for the
yeah,
first three. Like it's suspense stuff for the first three, and then it snaps to horror like at the end of issue 3, and then you go
yeah.
straight down the lane to, it's cerebral. It's very like the more you think about it, it's more layered than it should be for a 5 issue book. You
Oh
know,
yeah, yeah.
like Tony did a good job layering that like that. But then like the concept is so simple, it leaves so much to the imagination. So maybe part of it is a trick, like we're just kind of thinking about it more and more and we're like, God, this is really messed up. Like, and then that's what makes it kind of a horror because it gets inside your own head.
And that's where I think we should segue into the actual book now, where
Yeah.
for people who don't know this book, if I have to explain this plot for you, if you're just coming here out of curiosity, we are going to get into spoilers, but not yet. So you've got a dog named Trixie who's brought.
Sophie.
I just gave a guy at work so much ammunition against me because he kept doing that to me, like, oh my gosh, I can't. Yes, Sophie. Oh my gosh, so many names to remember.
Yep, there's a lot of names in this book. That's why we had to put a key in each issue so you can remember the dogs' names.
Yeah, I kept having to like look them back up when I was like taking notes and stuff. So
Yeah.
Sophie arrives at this house. There's a bunch of dogs, and it's natural for everything that these dogs do is natural to what dogs are like, and sometimes what people are like. If you put a new a kid in, say, a bunch of foster children, or it's kind of, it works
Or a
the
kid
same way.
for the first day. Everybody's
Yeah,
like, "Oh, the new kid. Let's talk to the new kid." Or maybe they take a different approach, and everybody wants to talk to the new kid.
yeah.
So
at first it just kind of lulls you into that, like, oh, this is just oh, the getting to know you, the hard part of being the new person here, and being announced and being afraid, and just how they're very welcoming, and it's just really, really adorable. And you get all the introduced to Victor the Dalmatian, Gucci, the poodle Henry, and other Henry, the what's that, the
the bull
Chihuahua, and
terrier, the bull
the
terrier,
bull
and
terrier.
the bull terrier and the poodle. That's Henry and other Henry. And then there's Gucci, who's a Chinese crested. She was supposed to look really weird. That's all. We wanted a really weird looking dog.
Yeah.
That kind of thought she was just, like the hottest thing. She was just like the best thing.
And then you have Aldo and Roxanne, which you said Roxanne is based off of your Malamute.
Yep. She's based off my Malamute.
Then you have Killer, Imogene, and Earl, who, like, I don't think Killer does too much in the book, but Imogene,
Yep.
and Earl play like these critical parts that are just
My favorite was Imogene throughout the course of the book. You see her do an arc that's just like,
you have to like really look. It took me the second read through to see the foreshadowing.
Yep.
I was reading it and just kind of, but when I reread it just recently, I was like, oh my gosh, you can see where, now that like now that I've read it, now I know what all these little beats meant.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how you guys pulled that off, because it just blows me away. Because I feel like I'm reading something that David Fincher would make, where I'm like, holy moly, like when you look at the layers that are in here.
I wanted to fill every panel, obviously. So, Imogene specifically, since she didn't really do too much, or since she was kind of like the dog-sized sofa or the sofa-sized dog that kind of stayed in the corner, I wanted her to have some impact in a few scenes.
So if you don't know already, Imogene, in these pictures here, Imogene is over here, the big dog that does like almost nothing, or appears to do almost nothing throughout the whole book. And that's Earl next to her. And
good old Earl.
Earl, man, Earl's story is so heartbreaking.
Yep.
But what we deal with here, as she goes through and she gets all the introductions and sees the place, sees the backyard, knows where not to go, where they think that he's keeping the treats. And when Sophie has herself an accident and kind of hides away from everybody, I was like, okay, this is still pretty standard. I'm fine with it. I'm flowing with it, but it's like I want to know where it's going. And this is where it kicks in, where the mystery man, that takes care of them, the master, comes home and shows Sophie a scarf, right? And puts it right up on her. And that is where the dog's sense of memory kicks in, with the smell of the owner, her previous owner, on the scarf, which jogs her memory back to the events that that she had forgotten. And that is that this somebody, quotation marks, killed her owner and has brought her here. And that she knows that this person is their master. And everybody's freaking out. And I love that right turn all of a sudden. And I talk about this in the video about the reds.
Yes.
All of a sudden, this colorful thing just suddenly goes red. And I thought that was brilliant, because that's so like from like you were talking about Italian horror movies and how the colors would change and stuff. So it's fantastic.
That's even a trick in animation. You'll notice like in a lot of like animated movies that scenes of intensity will go red, or warm colors like really, dark, or sad things will be blue. It's just kind of, that's what animation does to make you feel things. So that's what we needed to do to make it feel more like you were reading like a novelization of a movie. So how you've seen those books that are like adaptations of movies that already exist. Yeah. Well, we wanted it to feel like that, but without actually having an animated feature to base it on.
So at the end, after she remembers and has a good night, but is kind of convinced to go to sleep with all the other dogs in the master's room, Rusty wakes her up and's like, hey, I don't know if I believe you or not, but I really think, can't think of a good reason you'd be lying. So we're going to figure this out. And she's forgotten. I was like, I reacted like, no, like I shouldn't react like this after one issue. I was like, no, how are they going to, like, where do we go now? Because, but the other thing I loved about it was it's so true to what would happen. And what I talked about in the review was that these are dogs. These aren't like Disney animated animals that just do anything that a person practically can do. Mm-hmm. Everything is still followed by the rules of nature.
Right. Like you'll notice none of the dogs are holding anything in their paws.
Yeah.
I even don't really use I don't have them carry stuff in their mouth aside from maybe picking up a couple of items.
Yeah.
But most of the time they're just being dogs. Like if my dog ever suddenly picked something up in her paw, I would like, you know, sell that to somebody and be like, my dog's famous. My dog can pick stuff up with her feet. It's awesome. She could talk to me. She
So
actually does.
I love that though that you quickly solve that problem in the second issue where Rusty brings back the scarf and
Mm-hmm.
she's back in it. And I thought that was I was like, I was literally relieved that they were back on the case.
Yep.
And when they get into his room, and it's like when we as an audience start seeing what the master's really all about and finding like the room full of lady clothes.
Oh, and
you're
all the
just like,
photos and weird stuff and
yeah, like this guy's like Buffalo Bill, like this is Silence of the Lambs stuff.
you
This,
saw some like rope. I think there was like rope and like a crowbar. There's all kinds of random stuff in that room.
yeah, if you look in the backgrounds and stuff, there's like handcuffs.
And you're just like, why? This dude seems like the worst.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's got this all sealed off from the rest of the house. Not that anybody ever comes over. But, oh my God, like, ooh, what a creeper.
And you guys do this great scene where Sophie gets trapped in that room. And it's like you've seen that in other suspense movies where somebody's where they're not supposed to be, somebody comes home, they're supposed to hide, and you can feel that same tension in this. It's just with a dog, and it doesn't change. It doesn't change how you look at it. And one of the, I think the great ways about it is because we love our dogs. We love our pets.
Yeah.
And when you think about it like that, it doesn't matter if it's a person or your pet. If you're if you're in danger, when we see our animals in danger, I mean, a lot of times in movies, as long as the animal lives, we're fine. We're like, yeah. So,
but if the animal dies, I go full John Wick on people. Like, what's going on here? Like, I just go 0 to John Wick. Like, what's happening?
So, but Rusty here, I mean, showing like how good of a dog he is, how good of a friend he is. He takes the blame for, there's a lot of distraction so that Sophie can get out of there, and he gets punishment, and he gets taken out to the shed. And I love how, like, again, this whole page of Imogene just like appearing to just do nothing. And I love that, again, on initial glance, I'm like, I just kind of skimmed past that page. Because I'm like, oh, okay, it's just showing the passage of time in my brain at first. But again, I guess you should say, let sleeping dogs lie is kind of fitting for that. And I'm sorry for that pun. But
That's
I don't
okay,
know
no
what happened
here.
to Rusty in the shed, but he's limping now. And I'm assuming maybe he got yanked or...
I think earlier, I think the master kicks him and he yipes. And I think earlier, like the page before, when he's getting taken out to the shed, he gets a kick and he goes yipe. And then into the shed he goes, and he's got a limp. And I kind of, suggested that we color the area, color his elbow to look like, maybe he had a bruise, but that wouldn't be like on a real dog. It's just cartoon physics to trick you a little. But he gets hurt. But I guess it's not too rough. He did kind of destroy the master's stuff. So he doesn't take that as well, master hurts us, Yeah. I did bad. I got punishment. So, Yeah.
So by the end of this, though, they find more pictures. And at first I was like, ooh, like, is this like his next victim? Like, are they getting ahead of it? That's where I kind of thought it was headed for just one page. I was like, oh, but it's really that it's Roxanne's lady. And so now the dominoes are starting to fall. Like the proof is starting to show up, and now it's just a matter of how many of these dogs have the same memory and what will they do about it. Another thing is at the end of all these books, by the way, everybody, pictures of people's dogs. It gets bigger and bigger each issue, which again you can kind of track the enjoyment and how many people were reading the book, and it's just
You need a
really cool.
palate
I don't
cleanser
have a
after
dog
reading.
anymore, but if
After
I
having
did,
some tension about animals, you need a little palate cleanser. So,
oh
and a
yeah,
lot of people were really sending us like pictures to memorialize their dogs that were gone or their pets that were gone, and that really was touching. And a lot of people were like, this makes me miss my dog. So and so. They used to lay with me while I would read my books or whatever. And I'm just like sitting here like crying and reading emails. People were making me cry, just the overwhelming pouring of support. Just people killing me with that cuteness.
just to let everybody know, we are doing spoilers now. So if you haven't read the
Spoiler
books,
alert.
what's that?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoilers for the series if you haven't read it. So like I'm still telling everybody, read this book, but we're gonna continue on.
Yeah.
Paul in the chat. Hi Rob. Hey Desiree. Hey Paul. How you doing? Welcome to the chat. So in issue 3, this is where everything kicks into overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
We're finding graves now. Like under the porch, we've got the piles there, and you got Victor under there. Poor
Helpless.
Victor. I used to have my favorite dog when we were growing up, and we had several dogs, but my favorite dog was Max. And he was a cross between a Dalmatian and a pit bull. So he was this huge body, but he wasn't kind of temperamental. Like some Dalmatians can be real temperamental.
Mm-hmm.
He had the personality of just a big, like I don't know how
Just
to
a big
pronounce
dopey
it.
dude.
He was just a big goofy dog who he ate too much, and my family got rid of him.
Woo.
And broke my heart. So I see Victor in this, and every time I see a Dalmatian, period, I think of that dog. And so what happens in this issue just really was like really hard for me because again, it's just so they find the graves, and I thought that this was fantastic because again, how do they do this? How do dogs solve a crime? How do dogs expose a crime? How do dogs expose a killer? And it all makes sense because I mean the guy's doing everything on his property, and they smell it. Now they go under there, and again, this is where we create more tension. Again, the guy's gone, the guy's coming home, they are where they're not supposed to be. Like any dog, even if this guy wasn't a killer, and you found your dogs underneath the porch where they're not supposed to be,
Yep, they'd be like, "Oh,
it's gonna be a problem for the owner, you know."
Mm-hmm.
So it's just again, it's something that dogs do. Everybody's come home to seeing their dog or cat or whatever having done something.
Tip over the trash can or whatever. Dog's just sitting in his room having destroyed all of his toys or his bed or whatever.
Yeah, so again, like and when he comes down there, and I'm like, oh, good Lord. But he doesn't see him because, again, the dogs are good at causing distractions for each other. But Victor gets stuck down there, and they manage to get him out. But Roxanne, I believe it's Roxanne. Yeah,
Roxanne's obsessed with digging this, and Malamutes as a breed dig a lot. I know from experience, and they dig everything up. I mean, like I used to have flower bulbs in my garden for 20 years, and now I don't because my dog dug them all up. I don't know how she knew where they were, but she found them all, and that so Malamutes are obsessed with digging. So she needed to dig. She smelled something there. She needed to dig. She finds a piece of fabric and takes it back with her.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, this sets off the back part of this issue.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is well, first off, I want to mention that Imogene is finally perked up in this.
She wants to eat. She's hungry.
Yeah. They're in the way, I guess, of her getting to the food, but she's still awake, and I just thought that was interesting. But Victor sniffs it, and this face of
Yeah.
realization of horror. This little, just cute little Dalmatian. He looks like he's barely over being a puppy. And what I really liked was how dense this memory is. The fire, and you think, oh, maybe this isn't quite what we think it is. Maybe it's just he remembers a fire. Maybe his family died in the fire, and that he's rescued, and that maybe the guy's a firefighter. That's where I started going. And what I love about it is this is just a couple of pages, and I am going through this. I am looking at everything like I'm watching like a mini series that's going to take me weeks and weeks to finish, like on television.
It's
And
like
I'm
Marvel. It's
analyzing
like
it.
Marvel stuff where you have to go find every Easter egg.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
find every little
analyzing
clue.
each frame, like I'm taking it in more than I do most books that I read. And this is just 2 pages. So he goes to he's rescued by the fire department, taken in by the fire department. But then after the fact, the person, the fire department, the woman who took him, she is then killed by that man, by the master. And that just it floored me again. And it just gets worse because he remembers how to dial 911. Now, it says it on the phone. You guys did a really smart thing by adding the 911 to the actual phone. So it's like something the dog sees, something the dog remembers. It doesn't have to dial a number because some phones, have that.
Yeah, they just have the emergency number.
Yeah.
I used to have one when I was younger. It was like one of these giant phones, and it had the big buttons for emergency and for it had the little number pad, and then like speed dial numbers, and then like the big number for emergency and a big number for like speaker or something. It was like big buttons. I guess for like elderly folk. I don't know. But if you look at the phone in the fire, like the scene with the fire, the man's pushing the red button on there too to call for help.
Yeah.
So Victor, of course, remembers that this is a thing, and the
It
scene
sees it
where
on
he's
the
in
wall.
and on the wall behind him, he's everywhere. Like we tried to put that symbol in as many places as we could so that it looked like he would naturally remember. Like, I've seen this symbol a million times. He even says, I've seen this a million times. You just push the button and then the people will come. Like, the good people will come. And like, that just tears my heart again to hear or to even read the text. It's like, I push you push the button. It doesn't matter that we can't talk to them. We just, we make enough noise and they'll come. The good people will come. And it's like, the good people, I'm just sitting here like weeping.
I mean, that initial,
what a monster we were.
when he's like, we have to get out of here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Earl makes his choice here.
Ooh.
That really was like, oh my gosh, goes and lets the master know, like scratching on the door, because we should say that Earl has not been on board with any of this. He's been there the longest, and he's not having any of it.
He's the master's loyal dog.
Yep. And hey,
but
there's
you can't
some
fault
dogs
him. That's
that
all
like.
He knows.
There's some dogs that like more people than others. Like that just only like somebody, only one person in this world. The rest of the people that dog meets can go to hell. And Earl's that kind of dog, in my opinion. But the thing is, again, I wanted to be mad, but the thing is, he's a dog.
He's doing what a dog would do.
Yeah,
like a
you can't go against. You can't be mad at him going with his nature.
Mm-hmm.
Now, people, we are supposed to know better. So the master comes and sees poor Victor barking at the phone and realizes that it's 911 and takes Victor outside. And I mean, everybody just standing there. You see, like, yeah, you talked about the blues. Like, all of a sudden, all our dogs here are blue, like, as he's pulled away.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly I didn't know it was going to go to this. I also love the rumbles that we have, where it's all the dogs moving at
Yeah,
once.
they're all rocketing toward their spot where they look out back. The in the first
So
in the issue where Rusty goes to punishment, we kind of set that up. That's where they go to look out to see what's going on outside. They go to the bathroom to look out the window because it's low enough for them to look out the window. They all climb up on the vanity, or some of the bigger dogs stand up and look out the window.
I also love that there is swearing, but it's sparse and spared and used when needed. So
Yeah.
like when Roxanne's like, "God damn it, Rusty, why'd you let him do that?" It fits.
Because you feel
But,
like that
yeah.
kind of like impatience or that rage, or that scared kind of like panic, you know. I loved being able to act out a lot of these scenes, with the drawings, because you have to be able to have that kind of like, she's irritated, obviously, like, why did you let him do that? Oh my god, you're supposed to be the leader, you ding dong. Like, come on. But yeah, this issue hurt my heart in so many ways, and I thought we were going to lose a lot of people.
Oh,
But it only made them come. It only made them want to read more, which I really liked. I mean, unexpected surprises.
because now you've done what you're not supposed to do. You've hurt an animal,
Oh my
and
god, I thought people were going to come for us. I thought that was it. Look
that
at him.
moment right there when he's like putting his head against his leg to
Yep.
be like, "Hey, come on, buddy. I'm cool." And he's like, "Victor, no."
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, that sums up like so much about this. And Victor goes behind the shed, and there's a bang, and all the dogs at the
Look
window.
horrified, of course.
And and then like I said, way more dogs as each issue goes on.
Yeah, the poor doggies get smaller and smaller.
Gotta fit them in somehow. And I was still holding on to like TV rules, which is no body, no
Yeah.
death.
You didn't see it, it didn't happen.
Yep. I know that a gun went off. Maybe, I was fooling myself, of course. But book 4 is Earl's book.
Yep.
And it's important. This is like, I reviewed something just recently where it's about you, all of a sudden a character that you didn't really know why you needed, this story fits. Like it puts everything together sometimes when you get something out of and I didn't expect this to be just Earl heavy, but it makes sense because Earl's the one who caused the death of Victor.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you have to see the point of view from Victor. Not Victor, Earl, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to see it like from his point of view of everything. And he says, like, I remember all of it. I remember the master, he'd always give me treats. And it's just when that gets flipped on him, like the treats, it's so fantastic. And he's always, this is him threatening everybody in this issue. And them trying to defiantly try to figure out how to we can't be here. Now, this is where the big kind of change happens. Where Earl's tired of it all, and he comes down into the hallway, and Imogene just gives him a bump that moves his direction, that forces him to move a certain direction down the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Which I when I read that again and saw really what that was, I was floored.
It's some subtle acting. Like issue 4 had a lot of good acting for Imogene. She realizes, as she's standing there when everybody's arguing, that there's one less dog. So
Yeah.
you can see her standing there in the middle of the room, and like I wanted her to be taking like a mental tally of who's there. She may not say anything or do much, but she's got her eye on things. So She sees that there's not a lot, and when she goes over to her bowl, she looks kind of sad. So she knows something happened. She may not know exactly what because she's a giant dog who doesn't move too much, but she's drinking her water and biding her time. And then, she sets Earl down his fateful path. I don't think she knows anything more than there's one less dog, and I'm going to loom around and see what happens. But she inadvertently bumps Earl into going down the hallway and laying in front of the master's door.
Yeah, and that is where the other dogs are searching for evidence of what happened to Victor.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're investigating a crime scene. They find the spot on the ground, and they're like,
Aldo's our replacement hound since our bloodhound is angry and grumpy. And doesn't want to
the
play.
line that freaked me out was when they're sniffing it, and Aldo says, "Hold up, wait, he's somewhere else too." I'm like, they're smelling Victor's body outside, and he's coming from somewhere else too. And I was like, "Oh God, no! What? What are you doing?" And so Sophie goes inside the shed, and it's again just like in a movie where it goes on just so long,
very tense.
and but if you look at it frame by frame, it doesn't seem to take long. But if you really look at it and you play it in your head like it would in a movie or a TV show or whatever, it's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And her coming out of the red shed, where because it's animated red, and she's just like, we gotta go. Like, absolute panic and horror. We have to go. Like, and I'm downplaying her terror because I don't want to start shouting. But it is full on yelling, screaming, basically, we have to leave. And when they go in, trigger warning for anybody who can't handle this. This is it's going to be a little hard to.
I think that a lot more people actually found this page hard to look at, more than they found issue 3 hard to look at. When we got to this page, I didn't feel the way that a lot of people feel about this page because there wasn't any it wasn't gore so much as it was just red. But as you do, you're supposed to get that fear factor up.
There's weight to the image, and I mean literal weight, not just emotional weight, but there's physical weight. And if you really look at the picture of how we'll show you.
Yeah, there's too much junk going on in that page. It's like a Where's Waldo of gross stuff.
They're looking up at Victor's pelt, part of his body.
Yeah.
And when I say weight, I mean if you really look at it, it feels like the tail's flopped over. You can feel the weight of the tail flopped over. You can feel the weight of the paw in the nail. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it feels like it was that dog, and when you feel the weight of it physically and emotionally, it's double the impact.
There's this issue, last issue just kind of punched you in the stomach. This issue, punched you in the stomach a couple of times and then took your lunch money. This one was a bully.
which sends these dogs absolute panic. They're running into the fence. They're trying to get out of there. And Earl finally goes into the master's room that Rusty and Sophie had been in earlier. And he sees the coyote and everything, which the coyote should have been
vexed by the coyote.
What's that?
He wasn't too vexed by the coyote, but Sophie was earlier.
He was he's a hunter. He hunts. He protects us from wild animals.
Mm-hmm.
But it should have been, again, I like to consider myself that I can put some things together. But what I really love is when something fools me. When something gets me looking the other way, when I get so invested in other things that I don't see something right in front of me. And that's good storytelling to me, because I should have caught on to the stuffed coyote right off the bat, what that would mean. Because the master comes home, and this is where Earl smells the locker, and he immediately goes to his image of the treat, where he was being fed treats by this guy. Meanwhile, he's murdering his owner while he's eating treats.
Yes, isn't that just horrifying? He's eating the treats, meanwhile his owner's gasping for her last breath, and then he puts her in the car and drives him away. Like, come on, new friend, we're going for a ride.
And he was the new dog at one
Mm-hmm.
point. You know, where are any of these dogs? None of these dogs are in any of the issues. They are all gone. So, where do the dogs go? Well, the master comes home, and we find out in the very last page where the dogs went. And I love this because it's horrifying, but yet there's this hope at the end of it. Even with a shotgun pointed at Earl, it's scary. It's a very scary scene. It's a very tense scene, and it's a perfect cliffhanger. But for me, I was like, knowing that issue 5 is the last issue, I was like, Earl's gonna get him some.
He's got to give himself a piece.
And so, you know, you see the cover for issue 5, and I was like, I didn't. This was, again, this cover is so great because it tells you nothing at all.
But it tells you a lot.
These all kind of tell you, oh, this is, you know, oh, the dogs are there, or something's going on. Like this, just it shows you an attack, but it doesn't really show you anything else other than the lost dogs and everything. And I think this is my favorite cover of the 5 initial covers. But the 5th issue, I don't even know if I need to. Oh, I can tell this story practically without even opening the book. But when and I said this in my review, the line where he's like, you know the rules, you don't ever come in this room, and you don't ever show me your goddamn teeth. But before he can even tell him he's on punishment, Earl just jumps on the guy. Just
gets himself a piece.
And he gets himself a piece right there. So, yeah, it is like, oh, but then you hear the bang. And again, immediately I go, oh, God. Like, he got him. Like, he got his bite, but he got him. And I just, the way I'm even thinking about it now, where you just see Earl hauling ass.
Yeah, he's like, I got to get the hell out of this.
Yeah. The killer, like, this is the full-on end of the movie, like the climax of the movie, as Earl's like, they're all like, what do we do? Where do we go? We don't know what to do. And finally, the dog, who hasn't really done anything, or appeared to not be doing anything, Imogene, just comes out of nowhere.
We wanted a dog that looked like a bear, basically.
Yeah.
In that face.
Yeah, like there's that movie, Man's Best Friend from the 90s. There's like the big Rottweiler that would attack people.
Yeah, the giant like Cujo moment.
Yeah, and just knocks the man down the stairs, this huge dog from behind. And again, the gun goes off.
Out of nowhere.
The gun goes off. The guy's laying there on the ground, which gives them a chance to get out of there. And again, Earl, in his redemptive arc now, he's just like, run, I don't care. And he runs right for the bay windows. And just, again, great splash
last action hero shot out the window.
Great splash page. This is, and again, not just how would they escape? You know, you jump through the window, but also because we've always seen people jump through windows and everybody's fine. It's like, no, you ever punch a window? It leaves you bloody.
Freaking hurts.
It hurts way more than you think it would, and it leaves you a bloody mess. I know from experience.
Oh boy, I haven't punched many windows, but I figured it would.
It only had to happen once for me to realize it. And I didn't punch any window. Here's the story. I'll just say it. I was locked out one night of my place.
Ooh.
And we had big bay windows, and I was frustrated, and I kicked it open.
Oh.
And I had cuts on my leg, like all over. I was bleeding like a stuck pig for a little while. And thankfully, it it was just artificial cuts, but like
Yeah.
the way it looks at first. So I know you jump through this, you're gonna look like Earl does here.
Yeah,
Where,
he's a big, bloody heap. We were kind of thinking like, oh my God, is this where he kind of, dies, or does the adrenaline, kick back in and he just run? I was worried. We changed a few things, page, and not just this scene. I know it was different when we first wrote it, or when Tony first wrote the outline, but we knew how we wanted it to end from the beginning. So we just needed to get there. And yeah, so that page was a tough one to draw because I don't like drawing dogs in harm or, you know, in a bad way. But also, my desire to want to act more with these characters, like, pushed me through. And, of course, I'm nothing if not a great actor as far as, drama goes.
drama.
So the drama.
So you think that, and of course, like any good horror movie, the killer is not dead. He's getting back up.
And everybody's like, she.
Yep. It just like this. Now, this to me, this is like Jason Voorhees' moment. Like, this is the guy who just won't die. He's gotten a dog bite into his neck. He's probably been shot, possibly. We don't know. He's fallen down the stairs. He thought maybe he broke his neck. He's getting back up. How do you kill this guy? This guy just keeps coming. And he shoots Roxanne, which must have been hard for you.
Oh, it was.
To draw him shooting Roxanne in the back.
Yep, it was. And luckily, it was just a glancing wound. With that giant gun, he probably would have blew her whole leg off if he actually hit her.
Yeah, but then the looming,
mm-hmm.
And that was, and that's terror. And I remember, and I know this is just, I don't know why I'm bringing it up right now, but like the Dark Knight film was rated PG-13, and the only thing it really said in their description of why was terror. And all you need to have something scare you that much is just the looming threat of violence. Mm-hmm. So like when you see him looming over her with a shotgun here.
Oh yeah,
that is scarier with just the threat of violence to an animal. You see it. I think we are a little desensitized to people getting killed in movies and TV. But it doesn't get old. I think it shows a little bit of that we have consciences still, that we at least we care a lot about our animals, and when it comes to film and TV. But Sophie's big moment to charge out and attack. I mean, little Sophie, bless her heart, doing what she can to make sure that Roxanne does not get shot, but does get kicked. And the dogs, again, you have they're backed up against a wall of traffic that now they understand why they couldn't go anywhere, because the traffic going by is so intense that they could never get across. And Earl makes his final choice. He's dying probably already, and he just steps into the road. And again, this is your big, when you really think about it, this is the big climax to the movie of this book, where you get to just go all out with big pages like this, where you see Earl. And this is hard because it is a horrifying to watch a dog go flying, very all dogs go to heaven moment, except the cars crashing into each other. And I remember I said that to somebody. I described the story to them, this moment, and they're like, "Are the people okay?" And I went, I don't care about the people.
Who cares about that?
They've got insurance.
Yeah.
Okay, they have insurance. They'll be fine. Earl's dead, man.
Yeah. Like, the hero of our story just kind of bit the dust in the most spectacular way.
Yeah.
And like, it was really like in the when I first read the script, it was like, car crash, and I was like, okay. And then when I saw the like layout, I was like, oh, he doesn't just die in a car crash. He gets freaking obliterated. Like, obliterated from the earth. Thanos snap. Gone.
And his last words, too, just to let them all know, I remembered.
Yep. And that seals it. You know, you're just like, oh, okay, he's not a jerk anymore. We actually like this guy. Like,
and them howling and everything. It's just, but then the tension just goes right back up where a woman's getting out of her car, can't find my phone, 911. He's just standing there with his hand on his neck wound and a shotgun. And
this woman still walks up
she's
to him,
like,
though.
oh gosh, what's going to happen to this lady? Because we don't get to find out. Another smart choice is not showing it on the page right next to it. Makes you have to turn the page to see what happens. It grows that intensity, makes him all the barking, and the fear is rising. Is he going to shoot this woman in front of everyone? And instead, we finally see for the first time the master's face.
Yeah, he just looks like some Joe everybody.
Yep.
You know, it could just be anybody.
And knowing that this is it.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, that was the most gross thing I had to draw the whole time.
Takes his hand off his neck, and falls and bleeds out right there on the lawn in front of all the dogs. And
it's finally
to top
over.
everything off, police dog shows up with the actual cops and tells them to look out back. And that's when the cops find the graves of all the owners. And it's just boom. You know, it's, again, I can see it just cut to black or fade to black. And it's just like, you think that that's the end of most things. And, you know, we have this great epilogue, though, of Sophie running in the park, and she runs into Rusty. And at first I thought, oh, they know each other. They're happy. They somehow, wherever they ended up, ended up together. But that's not realistic. Even like how they like to do this in movies, where the two people that survive, right, or whatever, even though there's a lot more than two, they always somehow end up together. Even though I wouldn't want anything to probably do with somebody, like, there's too much trauma between two people that survive a horror movie to actually have a future together. But the smart thing is that they don't remember. They kind of remember. Like, he's like, I know you from somewhere. You know, they're just two happy dogs. And the great part is they don't remember. They don't remember probably what happened to them. And that great look of just this moment between these two dogs, that Sophie started it all. Rusty made sure that it wasn't forgotten. And between the two of them and the rest of the dogs' help, you know, they set off the chain of events that got them all away from this person and stopped him from hurting anybody else, besides more, you know, some of the dogs. And just the look back, and did you make a new friend? And that kind of look of, again, like, do I know, you know, like looking at someone that you used to know and you can't place them. And that happens in real life. I do. I'm great with faces, terrible with names. So sometimes, you know, you see somebody and you go, I think I know you. And that's the end. And it's just so beautiful. And again, this time there's like 4 pages of dogs in the back of the book, because and again, that just shows how many people were reading this book, how many people were being touched by this book enough to flood you guys with pictures. I bet you there's way more pictures you can even put in there.
Yeah, we didn't have enough room. We even added, like, the book was actually end-to-end story, but we even added those 4 pages to make sure we had the dogs.
That's awesome. And so that's the end of this story. Now, there is Dog Days coming. We got the picture here at the back. Stray Dogs, Dog Days, #1. You said that it says coming soon. I'm not going to press you for any real answers to that, other than you said it was an anthology.
Yeah, it's stories that take place before and during the events of Stray Dogs that feature the dogs we didn't get to really expand on in the story.
Oh. So Cool. Okay, so then you have the trade paperback. Then this comes out, and you'd have like eventually you could have like an omnibus that puts it all together,
Mm-hmm.
like in one big package.
Yep.
And I'll be getting probably all of it.
Right.
Um,
The stories were so fast. Like the main story was so fast. It had so much. We couldn't just stop what we were doing to have like 2 pages about any particular dog. So we had to smush that all down and move that off to the side and keep going with the story. We do have a free comic book day issue. It has a 10-page prologue of the first dog to come to the master's house, and then it's a reprint of issue 1. So it's a nice kickoff, little something to kind of whet the appetite in time for the trade. And yeah, it's going to be great. I'm going to be signing some books, and Tony will be out signing books. It's going to be, good time. Free comic book day.
I can't wait to be able to meet you officially at a con when cons come back. Because I was at the last major one in Chicago in C2E2 in 2019 or 2020. In February of 2020 was like the last Comic-Con where you could go in and see people. And I can't wait to be able to do that. But for everybody out there that watches this, get ready to tell your people at your local comic shop about New Comic Day. Make sure you get your Stray Dogs book, because that's going to be, they put a ton of New Comic Book Day books up there, and I almost grabbed none of them. I get like the one or two that I maybe like recognize something or see something maybe that intrigues me, but this one's going to go. This one's going to fly, and it may be free comic book day, but people are going to treat it like it's
a real, like it's a not free book. I actually have, hang on a second here. 1 second.
Yeah.
Oh. My proofs came in for the free comic book day book. Yeah, I can show them to you, but the box here is just like, there we go. Oh no, I picked it up by the cover. That's not great. I'm sorry, people. Don't roast me in the comments. But look at that. Yeah, look at that creeper in the window. Taking a photo of that dog.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it's a nice like little 10-page bite-sized story. Get you kind of, happy for issue 1, which is reprinted in there. That's your, that's our main page.
Cool.
Page. So yeah, it's going to be cool. It's got an ad for the Me You Love in the Dark on the back.
Oh,
that looks like it's going to be a good book. So yeah, it's going to be cool. Free comic book day. And then the trade will come out in September. And then sometime later this year, we've got Dog Days. We've already started working on it. Layouts are already starting to come in. So we're already working on it. It's already heading toward colors.
Ooh.
It's going to be good.
Excellent. Are there any other projects you're working on, or is this taking up basically the bulk of your time right now?
Between this and I'm doing some stuff for The Good Boy. I don't know if you've heard about that. Garrett Gunn and Christy Blanche, they're writing. It's kind of like a reverse John Wick story where the owner gets killed and the dog goes on a killing spree.
Oh man. Okay. Well, when the comic book shop opens tomorrow, I'll be calling them.
Yeah, that the Kickstarter for that just ended, but yeah, it'll be coming out. I think it's got a few arcs. I know there'll be a few arcs for that, and I'm doing some covers for that. So
excellent.
That's going to be fun. But yeah, if you want to follow me more, find out juicy details and stuff, I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Trish Forstner. I'm on Facebook, Trish Forstner, and we have a fan group run by a couple of lovely folk, up to 400 and something members now. Stray Dogs and Good Boy on Facebook. It's a closed group, but if you answer all the questions, they're just welcoming everybody.
Okay, cool. I will be checking that out for sure.
Yeah, definitely check
But
it
yeah,
out.
hear that, everybody. Right, go to Facebook and follow this, and so we can make sure that these books that keep coming out get all the attention they deserve. Because honestly, like I said, I read a lot of books, and while there are some this year that are really, really good, this is a special book, and everybody that's read it is treating it like it deserves. And I'm hoping that this is just the beginning for good things. But like I remember somebody else saying in another review that even if this is the only thing, this is a hell of an only thing. If this is I don't think it will be, but this is just an amazing series, and I want to congratulate you and thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you so
Uh,
much. Thanks for having me
and
on.
I can't. Oh, it was my pleasure, and I can't wait to talk more about dog days and everything.
Oh yeah.
Um,
When those things come out, we'll hook up again. It'll be good.
okay, awesome. I will love to have you. So I was just, and now I don't know how to end this,
We
but
could
I'm
talk
just
all
gonna end
day.
it. I'm gonna end it the way I always end my reviews, which is if you like what we're doing here on the channel, again, thank you so much, Trish Forstner, for being here and talking stray dogs with me. So if you guys out there in YouTube land liked what you saw here, don't forget to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, share, hit the bell for all notifications. If for some reason you hated every single thing that I said in this video, and you would rather have the memory of the last hour and 21 minutes wiped away, well, we can fix that for you. We will give you, I just got to adjust my little neuralizers here. So all of you who did like it, look away or put on sunglasses. Otherwise, we will give you guys a better memory.
Excellent.
Actually, I lied. If you didn't like this, I'm just going to have you remember the end of Old Yeller.
Oh boy.
That's how confident I am that you should like what we just talked about. So those of you who didn't like this are forced to remember Old Yeller. So have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you on the next video.